What is up, guys, and welcome to the Siegecrafter Blackfuse Normal Mode Raid Guide. As always in this guide, the abilities will be scrolling above my head, so if you want to stop and take a look at those at any time, feel free to pause the video and take a look. For this fight, you definitely need two tanks, and I'll go into why in a minute, but this fight is awesome because it really is a tank fight. DPS get a really cool mechanic to deal with, and the healers get some really cool times to really do some burst healing. So let me get into why everything works that way, and we'll get into the strategy right now. The first thing that you want to understand is tanks. You will get a stacking debuff on you. What this stacking debuff allows you to do is do a ton of damage to the shredders. Now you will see shredders that will randomly come out throughout the fight. They are everyone else does 80% less damage to them. So the tanks do a ton of damage to them. So this is kind of your tank check, okay? So if you have really high damaging tanks, what you want to do is really build up that tank and get him with his stack and then go over and kill the shredder. Now you want to kill the shredder away from everybody, you know, tank him outside of the raid, away from where he's going to be, because he does do a slam on the ground. So you do need to run away when he's doing that and then come back and DPS him. Now the reason that you're DPSing so hard as a tank in this is because he does overcharge, which as the ad lives and as he casts it more and more, it does more and more and more damage. This is where the healers come in. He will start trucking your tank as well as doing a ton of AoE raid damage to your entire raid. So again, like most of the bosses in Siege of Orgrimmar, one ability won't kill you, but the combination of abilities will. So what you need to understand is that the combination of getting hit by anything else going on in the fight, taking that little bit of extra damage, and then the overcharge can kill you. So the tanks, your number one priority is, if you're DPSing that guy, get him down quick. If you do lose your debuff, make sure that you yell it out so that DPS can switch and help you finish off that ad. And then that's pretty much your tank swap ability there. You will see an assembly line going on. You want two assembly groups, okay, because you do get a 30-second debuff to where you cannot go again. So what you want to do is every 30 seconds you're sending a group up. So how this works is pretty much what you're doing is you're taking the little tube, you jump in the tube, and when you land, you're on the conveyor belt. Now, obviously, there's fire. You don't want to get hit by the fire lines. That's a pretty obvious mechanic. If you don't figure that out, you will within about 30 seconds of being on the assembly line. But make sure that you understand that that will hurt you, so you need to run through when it's possible to run through. Melee are preferred for this, but you can use range, as you see that we did. It's really up to your raid group of how you want to deal with different mechanics. Now, while you're on the crawler mine, or while you're on the conveyor belt, you'll have 4 different possible scenarios that you have to deal with, okay? The crawler mines, missile turrets, electromagnets, and the laser turrets. Okay, so what you want to do is, really the easiest way to deal with this is make crawler mines your number one priority. The reason you want to do that is because then you're concentrating more DPS onto the boss. What the crawler mines do is, if you let the crawler mines go through the other end of the assembly line, they will target random players. They can be slowed stunned, but you do need to switch and burn those down. They cannot reach that player. If you do get picked, make sure you're kiting away so that you're not going to get hit. Make sure that you have people slowing, stunning, etc. while you're burning them down. But again, that is DPS time that you could be putting onto the boss. So keep that in mind. That's why we prioritize the crawler mines. Now, the next one is really up to you. The missile turrets aren't really a huge deal to deal with. You pretty much just watch the floor. You don't stand in the, you know what I mean, in the lines on the floor. You don't stand in between the lines because big things come out and they hurt you. Pretty normal mechanic there. Again, same thing with the laser turret. The laser turret, if you've done Iron Juggernaut, you can do this mechanic extremely simply. It's the same exact thing. If you get the laser turret on you, you run the hell away. You don't let it hit you. It's the same thing with any fixate mechanic. You just run away from the fixate mechanic and you'll be fine with that. The electromagnet kind of pulls everybody away from, you know, to the back of the room. So what you want to do is prioritize this second. So if there's no crawler mine available for you to kill, there will be an electromagnet available for you to kill. So those are your 2 highest priorities. And the reason you're doing that is, again, uptime for DPS on the boss. Obviously, if you're being pulled away, you want to get back to where you're going, and moving is a DPS loss for 99% of everybody, okay? Especially your ranged DPS. If you don't have to move, you're doing more DPS, you can go through your rotation and kind of tunnel the boss more. If you're getting pulled away, you have to move out of mechanics, you have to watch what's going on, and it does an amount of damage. So especially if you have the electromagnet going off while you have, let's say, overcharge going off, and you know, this is what I'm talking about. That combination damage that Blizzard has really implemented into this tier is, one ability won't kill you. 2 abilities will, 3 abilities will definitely do it. So it's all about avoiding what you can avoid and then healing through what you have to heal through. And those are going to be the biggest things that you're going to run into in this fight. You can lust on the start of this fight, as there's not really a DPS increase phase. It's really up to you how you want to do it. Just remember that the first assembly line group kind of gets shafted, as they have to go pretty much immediately to go kill, to get on the assembly line to go kill. So they may lose the first couple, 20 seconds of lust, but after that it's back to normal. And to be honest, the DPS timer on this fight wasn't extremely stringent, as long as you're prioritizing the right things. So obviously the more DPS you can put on the boss, less time you have to deal with anything else. But if you can do those mechanics, guys, again, tanks figuring out their tank swaps, healers understanding cooldowns and when to use them and when the most damage is going to be coming out is key for you. DPS, figuring out the assembly line, getting back onto the platform and doing maximum DPS of the boss, as well as learning how to deal with crawler mines if they do come out, learning not to stand in saw blades, stuff like that, is all going to help you. That's how you're going to kill this boss. Another quick note for tanks: if you do tank the big ad, the shredder that you're DPSing, if you do tank him in a saw blade, he will take additional damage. So keep that in mind, is that the ads do take damage from the mechanics in the room. So if you want to cut, if you are missing a little bit of DPS and you're not tanking him in the saw blade, maybe you should try doing that to help out your DPS a little bit. But if you can do those things, you can kill this boss. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and as always, see you in the next one.